Hello and welcome back to the World Championship live from Los Angeles, California. I'm Joe Miller alongside the lovely Joshua Jack Leisman, and we're going to be bringing you the last two matches of the day, starting with Europe's Fnatic taking on Korea's Samsung Galaxy Ozone. Now, both of these teams are coming off wins. Fnatic now in sole possession of first place as well. Ozone lacking a little bit behind net in third place, and for XPK and Fnatic, they're trying to make it 2 games in a row against Imp and Ozone.
Yeah, and in the first game, these guys played against each other in groups. Fnatic went all in with a double AP dive composition that featured a teleport top lane Lissandra, and it was very successful. It actually took down Ozone in 33 minutes, which was quite a quick game. You know, Fnatic played great, and they won every lane in that game, but the largest margin of victory for them lane-wise was the bottom lane. Imp was just constantly in the middle of a party he did not want to be invited to because Lissandra would teleport in, and he just got destroyed, and he was on an immobile champion in Kog'Maw for himself. And also, one other thing we have to mention about the Fnatic who's losing their ban. No, that's not what we should be cheering for. Fnatic will be penalized for trading champions after the 20-second deadline in their last game against Vulcan. So Fnatic's losing the 1 ban.
Well, coming into this match, Ozone isn't making any excuses for their Game 1 loss, and while Cyanide and Peke are ready to flex their muscles again and take another game from their Korean counterparts.
한국 팀들이랑 하던 플레이 스타일이 많이 달라가지고 좀 당한 것 같아요. 근데 거기에 대해서 준비를 아직 별로 못했는데 지고 나서 이제 좀 이길 수 있는 방법을 좀 알아내려고 하고 있어요.
I was really happy to beat them. Like, they're a great team, but even the Koreans, they're not invincible, and it has been proven now.
팀의 색깔이 너무 뚜렷했고 그거에 너무 속수무책으로 저희가 당했기 때문에 제일 인상 깊었던 팀인 것 같아요.
It's not that they play bad, they play decent, but we play really, really good.
푸나틱이 좀 색다른 걸 준비할 수는 있는데 그게 그렇게 완전히 다르진 않을 것 같아요.
We will come up with a different battle plan, but I think we did pretty fine last time, so we don't have to change too much. We just gotta try and play solid and play our game and not theirs.
We're pretty much a really strong team, and we'll win it.
Focus on their own game, and Fnatic have done it before, so why not again?
Absolutely. I mean, Fnatic is the team that they had a slow start, and they've really ramped it up here. They've been a little momentum-based in the past, but, I mean, if Ozone does figure them out, I don't know what's going to happen here. Ozone played so great in that first game.
Well, it's time to check out today's starting lineups. Kicking off with Fnatic on the blue side. There, of course, Soaz in the top lane, Cyanide in the jungle, XPK in the mid lane, Pushu the AD carry, and Yellow Star the support.
And on the red side, it is Samsung Galaxy Ozone. Top lane is Looper, the jungle is Dandy, mid is Dade, Imp on AD carry, and of course Mata on support.
So getting into Champion Select, we've seen a big variety out of both of these teams. If you look through the champions that they've played already, there are obviously some very similar options. I mean, Aatrox for Cyanide and Lee Sin we saw him play so amazingly well in that last game. Then you look over, you know, if you look at the mid laners in there, Dade, not impressed as maybe as much as we'd have expected, brought out the Rise, and we heard from the analysis desk that they talked about how he's really struggled to keep up and has generally fallen back on those picks that he may have been used to earlier when they were a little stronger.
Yeah, and we can just talk about Dade's champion pool a little bit because he still hasn't brought out something new that's worked. He tried to play Gragas in their last game against Fnatic, and he was missing many of his Gragas ultimates. Peke was basically sidestepping them because Dade was trying to be too precise and get the knockback perfectly each time. And since then, he's pulled back to Jace, he's pulled back to Ezreal, he's played some Rise, his Zed has always been banned away. But those 4 that we just mentioned, not including Gragas, are his champion pool. And it has been for the past 3 or 4 months. He hasn't really added any more. And I don't think we're going to see anything unique that is actually successful for him. So Fnatic could theoretically plan around that if they hadn't lost that ban, which will actually make this a little more difficult.
Yeah, we should touch on that a little bit more. The rule is here in the World Championship, 20 seconds before the game starts, you have to have already made all your switches, and Fnatic actually did that with 14 seconds remaining, which is why they lose the ban here.
It's a rule that's been added to the World's rule set. It's been in the OGN Champions League for quite a while, but it's just, you know, they knew about it going in, they just were late on the swap, and they just accepted the penalty.
Well, let's talk about what that means really, because they get 2 bans instead of 3. Where do they have to be more focused now? That's the real point of this one.
Yeah, I mean, considering that they are on the blue side, they have the first pick, and at least in this World Championships, with so much Zed and Ahri and Corki contention, especially since Fnatic has been playing a lot of Corki as well. I don't actually think it hurts them that much. I think if they were on the red side, it would be substantially more detrimental to them. The only thing this will block them from doing is if they really wanted to attack Dade or Imp's champion pool. They could do like a Vayne and a Caitlyn ban, but they no longer have that option.
Well, we're going to jump into Champion Select and see exactly how this one is going to go down. So don't forget, Fnatic only 2 bans in this game. They get to ban out first of all in this matchup. So
yeah, this
what are
one's
we
going to tick off
expecting there? Yeah, that said, again, Dade, obviously an amazing Zed player. He seems to have struggled on other champions. You'd expect that to come out from Fnatic.
Yeah, that's actually... Peke is a pretty good Zed player too.
That's also true.
And that means Ozone is basically forced to use a ban on... They're most likely going to use 3 bans on Peke, because that's what most people do against Fnatic. Going just back to the European playoffs, Peke was dominating every game. 400 CS on Ahri in 32 minutes in their final championship win over Lemon Dogs. And he has really performed so far here at the World Championships. Peke is one of the main reasons that they're actually in first place in this incredibly competitive Group B.
Well, we see the first ban there from Fnatic. Actually, Lee Sin. Now, obviously aimed at Dandy in that one. Up until now, only played 2 champions, funnily enough, Jarvan and Elise. So that one's still going to be open for a while. Thresh banned out as well. That's both of Fnatic bans gone. Ahri, Shen, and a Leona ban there against Yellowstar.
And of course, Zed gets popped in. They decided that it's absolutely okay. We just saw the first Zed loss here at the World Championships when Mineski was allowed to play it. Reginald was previously the only person to actually get to play Zed, and he had been 2-0 with it so far. It's a pretty bold strategy there to just give it right around to Peke, because, I mean, what does Dade have left for him at this point? We've been through his champion pool. Right now, it reads Ezreal, Ryze, and Jace, unless he has something new up his sleeve.
Well, the Gragas as well, which they lost with against Fnatic.
I'm not expecting. I'm personally not expecting to see that again.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah.
It just didn't work out for them whatsoever.
It could just be the Lissandra right off the bat if they decide to go with mid lane. As soon as Lissandra hits 6, she could potentially just use her Frozen Tomb to just, on herself, avoid the ultimate.
I think we can safely say that that will be Dade. I mean, if you look at Looper and what he's played so far, they've been the more tankier champions, the Shen, the Singed, and a Zac in their last game that they played against Gambit. So, expecting that Dade will get that Lissandra. Fnatic, a team who have played Lissandra in both the mid lane and the top lane on many occasions. But let's move across to Fnatic, because they've picked up that Corki that's been so highly contested, along with a Zyra.
And whatever this next pick is, I mean, it could just be a support, but I'm still not actually sold on where they're going to be putting this stuff. I mean, based on what we know about Ozone and how they're such a heavy team on preparation, I don't think they could just fly off the handle and be like, oh yeah, we prepared this Lissandra strategy that we're bringing out on game 6 of the group stage. I feel like if they had it, they would have brought it out much sooner. At the moment, they actually have Fiddlesticks as their planned counter against Zed, because what Fiddlesticks can do to Zed is as soon as he goes in for the death mark, you pop the 3-second fear on him, and it effectively makes it so he can't apply damage during the death mark, and therefore he can't assassinate someone, which is the plan with that Fiddlesticks. I'm very interested to see if they go double AD again with even more of a poke composition, even more ranged champions, and no true tank, just because it works so well for them against Gambit.
Well, let's see the final 2 picks coming in here for Fnatic. Bottom lane or duo lane sorted out here. That's Zed for... We're assuming Peke. We can never put it past Soaz to play a champion like that. Yorick.
Oh no.
We have to say... wow. Yeah, I was going to say, that one wouldn't work out too well, but Kassadin coming in. We know how strong Peke is with Kassadin, and the jungle Aatrox for Cyanide. He's played it in 3 out of 5 games so far.
And Kassadin has been banned against Peke many times so far in this World Championship. Whenever you expect the Zed first pick, we're almost just trained to expect it in mid lane. But Fnatic, more than any team in Europe, is likely to run double assassins because they love to tag team and avoid team fights. They did a lot more of it actually in the spring split of the European LCS than they did in the summer, but it's still something Fnatic is incredibly comfortable doing. And now that Peke is allowed to go on Kassadin, he was probably expecting the Lissandra pick in the mid lane to go against, and he's expecting to be able to survive it. I'm really excited to watch this Fnatic assassination composition really just work out. They're all basically just gap-closing assassins on that team.
And that's something that they did so well, the whole double team of Peke and Soaz, not being scared to split push on their own, and definitely not scared to team up as a 2 and really knock anyone out who's caught anywhere near out of position. So this is going to be scary stuff for Ozone. They're the team that really, I'd say has to win in this scenario. They sit currently behind Gambit after they took down Mineski in our last game. So this is a very, very important game. And for Fnatic, I mean, they're going to be in such a strong position.
It's really important for both of them right now because Fnatic wins, they have a stranglehold on the group. And if Ozone wins, they are almost safe in second place. They'd make it very difficult for Vulcan to qualify at this point. So there's a lot on the line here.
Well, as a team spawn onto the Rift, let's take a look at what you guys at home think will go down in this matchup. And according to lolesports.com, 68% of you think that Fnatic will win. Obviously, between the analysts, a little bit more split, about 50-50. The thing is, 68% is a decent margin here for Fnatic, and I think they've earned it through how they've played so far.
We have a weird balance here with the picks because the fan vote has generally been correct. But Crepo has also generally been wrong in these close games, and they're fighting against each other right now, or that they're with each other. So one of those things is going to be true. The Crepo is going to be right more. The fans are going to break their streak.
Well, we're going to find out here as we start to work towards the game. Fnatic versus Samsung Galaxy Ozone, and for the Koreans, an incredibly important matchup for Fnatic as well. It's going to catapult them so far ahead at the top of the group that the likelihood of being caught gets slimmer by the game. So let's get into this one. Figure out how it's all going to go down.
The biggest fear that Fnatic has right now is early lane domination. We know if Ozone can get ahead early, they execute the mid game nearly flawlessly. And the fact that Kassadin and Zed have both started with Thorn Shields generally means that they're going to have defensive early laning phases. So if Dandy can use that to his advantage, Ozone might be able to take a big lead. That's going to be the big thing Fnatic is fighting against right now.
So as was just spotted up there in that top lane by the brush, I mean, Ward went down by blue, which was also seen by Looper. So right now, Ozone are set up to go for these 2v1 lanes with the Ezreal and that Fiddlesticks possibly going up towards the top and Looper down on his bottom side. Fnatic got a big line defense set up on their side of the map just to almost human ward those areas out to see where Ozone are going.
And I don't think it's a very smart thing for Imp and Mata to want a 2v2 Pushu and Yellowstar, which is why I'd expect them to actually go for some lane swaps. Interestingly enough, we're not seeing any deep wards into the enemy junglers, which is generally what you need to have if you want to preemptively scout the 1v2 lanes. So at this point, it's almost guesswork as to what lanes the AD carrying support are going to be jumping into. And if Fnatic ends up getting into a 2v2, it would be good for them. But based on the current formation of the champions, it looks like Ozone's actually going to get what they want early on.
Seems like that duo lane will go up against Peke in the middle. We've got Lissandra there, Dade playing that one in the top lane, and both Pushu and Yellowstar are waiting on that top side of the map. So a little bit of a mix around here in terms of how these lanes are going to be setting up. But let's talk a little bit through them here. Lissandra obviously going to have that extra bit of range to do the farming against this duo lane.
I'm actually very interested here because this isn't your typical 2v1s, as you've been saying. They're just 2v1ing Kassadin, which is a very smart decision. It's what many people do against Kassadin early on in the game. Knowing especially that Peke is really the focal point of Fnatic's attack, the more they can keep him down pre-level 6 and post-level 6, the better it is for Ozone as they try and take control of this map. I definitely feel like Dade has a better feel on that 2v1 lane up and top than Peke does in the mid lane. So I'm almost expecting Fnatic to try and swap out of that.
One thing we should note as well is the teleports here. One for Peke, one for Dade. So, last game that these two teams met, it was actually Soaz running Lissandra in the top lane with that teleport. We saw Fnatic earlier on doing extremely well against Vulcan with Peke having that teleport. So, with Dade having that, it's a well-informed guess that somewhere, someone on this team would have that teleport in there.
Yeah, and I gotta say, the European LCS is more comfortable with teleport mid laners than any other region, specifically because of Meteor Makers. Their mid laner did it almost every game, and that's one of the big reasons MYM started the European LCS season so well, is because it was such a hard adaptation for teams to adjust to. And even though Ozone's played with and against it a little bit, there's no way they're as comfortable in that game as Fnatic is.
Here we go then, top lane, 3 men are there. Cyanide already going very, very low from this one. Danny was there to cover that one off. Yellowstar, he's down to about a third of his HP remaining as well. And there a Cocoon lands
Here comes the cavalry
Pushu.
though from
Yeah,
Ozone.
the rest of them are coming up from this on the duo. Moving up from that top lane, there is Yellowstar actually having to flash over the wall, but Imp will follow him over. Picks up the first blood. Cyanide had his Bloodwell pop there as well, and now Pushu is in the middle of nowhere from this one, but will he be able to escape out of things? He
still
does
has
have a flash available. He has a barrier, but there's the fear. He's not escaping this one. Dandy makes it 2-0 Ozone.
Huge start for Ozone. Tower diving had been a problem theoretically for the Korean teams, especially SK Telecom yesterday, but they had some time to adjust. At this point, they sent Dandy up to predict the potential dive from Fnatic, and also the fact that Peke was 2v1 in the mid lane. He could not roam to protect the roam that Imp and Mata had when they went up there, which meant the collapse came from Ozone and could not be matched by Fnatic. 2 kills based on strategy.
1,300 gold lead, that leaves now Ozone in front. And they'll be feeling very happy with that one. 2 assists coming out in the end from Dade, the kills falling to the AD carry and the jungler. Overall, a brilliant start for Ozone at the kickoff of this one. And Peke obviously being starved somewhat in this 2v1, but funnily enough doing better than Dade has in terms of getting that farm.
Yeah, and I think that's just a result of Dade having to deal with the turret dive, whereas Peke was effectively abandoned in the lane. I would still much rather be Dade in this situation. Picking up the 2 assists, knowing your team got the 2 early kills, and just generally knowing you're on Lissandra right now. More realistic in the 2 lane, but he went up too far. That is just a mistake.
Absolutely incredible. Miles out of position there. Coming around, there was that ward in the Tribush to spot them. Fnatic making the best of it. Dade having no flash. Couldn't get away with the claw either, and that's almost a gift back to Fnatic at this stage.
He hadn't even skilled it yet.
He had 2 that's why he didn't have it then.
1 in W, which is even more of a reason that he shouldn't have been there in the first place. That gives something back to Fnatic, absolutely.
Probably a gift that Fnatic certainly weren't expecting at this stage of it. Either way, let's move on because the Dragon now has been started here by Ozone.
Yeah, Dandy can tank for a little bit with his Spiderlings. Those are actually gone, by the way, but there's just more people down here for Ozone. It's an early Dragon play. They 4-man it. Peke, this is another example, actually, of the Doran Shield early start by Kassadin being punished by Ozone.
Wow, Dade once again going super low. He's dead once again. Grasping Roots coming into it. He did hit level 4 there.
He had the E. It just had been burned. Potential. I don't know when he used it. He may have used it to farm. Lissandra is not Dade's specialty right now.
Well, it doesn't look that way, does it? We have to admit that 2 times now getting caught out in these 2v1s, a lane where you have to play so incredibly defensive and carefully. Meanwhile, Dandy is coming up to try and stop the pressure that's now been put down by this duo on that top lane, but the turret not quite at half HP by now. Peke here in that mid lane, he's not quite hit level 6 just yet either, so once he gets that Rift Walk in there, he's going to become a little bit safer in terms of his mobility and escape ability.
Yeah, Peke, once he hits level 6, should have a little bit of a reprieve from all this pressure from Ozone. And just kind of going back to that Dade, he had actually used his E to farm a minion wave while Pushu and Yellow Star creeped up from the brush. Those are just some mental errors right there, judgment-based by Ozone, that are kind of giving up some of the early game advantages. But based on the fact that Peke is stranded in the mid lane here, Ozone trying their push on turrets.
Oh, they're going in on towards Mata. He falls very low, but Cyanide in trouble as well. There is Pushu joining the party. There is a repel coming out, but look at him. He's fallen extremely low. They decide to stop chasing him and turn back around onto the Spider, but Dandy will be able to walk away from that in the end. It's actually a 2v1 for Ozone.
Yeah, Imp just managing to pick up a double kill at level 5. He's got the Ignite that I believe helped him pick up 1, but that is mind-boggling right there for Ozone. It's the weakness of Peke early on in the game being pressured by Ozone. They tried to approach an attack, but Ozone just had too much power up there, and that's one of the things that Ozone did so well against Gambit, is they would just sit outside of their turrets and dare Gambit to come and get them. At this point, Fnatic tried, and you can kind of see why teams are so hesitant to go in, because it backfired terribly there for Fnatic.
Pushu's Corki so far coming up big once again. We saw it in their last game against Ozone. He finished 8-1-11 in that game. Outside of 3-1-0, everything going their way. Mata, they go, they're both caught by it. They jump in, Strangled Thorns goes down. There is a shutdown, and the second kill going to come around. Yellow Star pulling that one off, but again, a positional play working out brilliantly for Fnatic.
And that was just a great scout there by Fnatic. How would they guess that Ozone would be trying to get control in that area, since the Dragon was already down in a sense. That's essentially, it's got to be catching Imp on his way to blue buff, I'd imagine, but either way, it was just a great jump by Fnatic, and that's what Fnatic will be trying to do this entire match. They don't have a team fighting composition. They have one that is completely built around catching people off guard and finding small fights. And knowing that Pushu has those 4 early kills is going to be a very early Trinity Force. Imp and Pushu are going to be battling each other as they're the ones that are holding the majority of the kill gold in this match.
Now we see a red buff steal coming out from Cyanide, capitalizing on the fact that middle turret now has been finished off, the first one of the game, funnily enough. After all this crazy action that we've seen, we're not quite 10 minutes into this game, and Fnatic have clawed that early gold deficit back. I mean, let's take a step back here. This was a 2-0 start for Ozone.
And that's generally a disaster if you're Fnatic, getting down 2 kills to a top-tier Korean League of Legends team that generally know exactly what to do with a lead. But they haven't played against Fnatic. No one has played against a team like Fnatic, who knows how to hide in the fog of war, despite how many wards Ozone may try and put down, and just attacks you from very unconventional positions that teams are not ready.
Oh, Peke, yeah, up on his top side, and bit of a trap set in wait for him. We've got Lissandra on the top side, at least Fiddlesticks is around there. There's a ping on towards Fiddle, and look at that, they've actually pinged into the brush here. So Peke's been told that this is a possibility. The ulti does go in, there's the cocoon landing on towards Peke. Can he escape this one? He's going to go very low, but there's the Riftwalk, there's the claw to follow in. Daddy picks up a kill.
And that's really Ozone fighting back, giving Fnatic a taste of their own medicine. It was another time where they're just waiting for Peke to commit a little bit. They chained their crowd control properly, and Peke paid.
Now Pushu coming up, and you see those bombs putting down incredible amounts of damage to take out that minion wave before that turret could be finished off. So a save on that front, it leaves us at just a 250 gold lead, let's call it, at this point for Fnatic. Lupa, I have to say, along with Soaz, they've been the quieter of the teams here on this bottom lane, 1 versus 1, pretty much just farming up against each other. The Cutlass already done here for Soaz. The kickoff there is Imp. Well, he's going to get caught out there in middle, and that happened so fast we missed it.
There's going to be a lot of that in this game.
Yeah.
Those incredibly quick picks, because so much damage is on Fnatic and they can kill people so quickly. And also this Zed matchup, there will come a point in time where Soaz does more damage than Looper can handle, and that will cease to be a 1v1 matchup that Ozone is willing to commit to.
So, rest of Fnatic actually moving towards this bottom side of the map. Yellow Star just getting through there. Only 1 turret hit taken. That minion wave going to come up, and this should be turret number 2 of the game here for Fnatic. Nothing really from Ozone in the general area to stop this one going down. Peke in the middle is making sure that Dandy and Mata don't push that middle turret out even further, and that will be the 2nd turret of the game going over to Fnatic.
And I think the most important part of this game that we haven't talked about yet is how Fnatic has been able to hold on to all of their turrets. When Ozone got the 1 or 2 turret lead on Gambit earlier, it ended 10 turrets to 0. But the fact that even with Peke getting 2v1 in the mid lane early on in the game, the fact that Fnatic has not lost a single turret is the thing that is stopping Ozone from taking the appropriate amount of map control to corral Fnatic and stop them from getting picks.
So here we go then, Dragon started again by Ozone. Peke's teleport has just come off cooldown. They may go for this one. There is a Smite Steal! Cyanide showing once again. He is a master stealer, and he's done it once again. Soaz actually was by Tribush. He's just going to use those shadows to get out of there, and so expertly done.
Dragon Steals are such an immense swing in gold. That's 975 gold that Ozone committed to with 4 members of their team, and it got swung back on the other side because Cyanide made 1 miraculous play. That's effectively a 2,000 gold swing. You generally get 450 gold in kill and assist combined for a regular kill. So a steal like that can potentially be equivalent to a 4-kill swing in gold. That's incredible.
That leaves them 2,200 gold up on Ozone, who right now are all ganging up in this top lane. Peke being caught out there once, but doesn't look like he's going to fall for that a second time. He just pushed that wave up towards the turret and decided to back away. Meanwhile, Soaz pushing out this mid lane. He's now up to 120 CS. And we talk about how dangerous a Zed is. Usually we see him in this mid lane, but the fact that Soaz has been in that 1v1 has allowed him so much free farm, he's going to become beastly.
It's one of the things that as Zach was becoming more and more popular in the competitive scene, actually before he got nerfed, teams were smartening up about putting hyperscalers against him, because as powerful as Zach can be in the teamfight phase, he is effectively non-threatening in a 1v1 matchup. So things like Nasus could farm for days and get a crazy Q, or Vladimir can reach a point where he is stronger than Zach and just outpressures him. Zed is not seen in that matchup very often because either Zed's banned or he goes mid lane, but it absolutely works. And that's something that Soaz is approaching right now. Once he gets a couple items to complement his Blade of the Ruined King, he'll be able to kill Looper in those 1v1 situations, no problem.
So let's have a look at some of the items coming in here. And we'll touch first of all on that Zed. That Blade of the Ruined King done. Sunfire Cape on the other side. Oh, wow.
Wow.
That was a surprise party. I think Mata surprised himself that that party was going on there. And he will just back away. Ulti burn.
And there's a huge battle for vision going on that we can't even really talk about because there's just too many wards on the map to mention. But there was a ward that wasn't in the direct location of Mata, but it did show his approach. And then Soaz waited just long enough to back away from him.
Oh, there's a Cocoon flashing by, and Fnatic seeing that go straight between them decide, okay, well, let's back away from this. There's quite a few people here. Peke doing what Peke does best here. He's pushing that top lane out. He's going to continue to push, draw people away from the middle of the map, and then use his teleport to get around there and join the rest of them.
And the scariest thing about Peke right now, if you're Ozone, is the fact that he's still charging up, and Ozone is yet to take an advantage. In fact, Ozone knows they're behind right now. You can't do that against a Kassadin. If you're a team like Ozone and you don't get any turrets down after the weak early game of a Kassadin, you are in extreme amounts of trouble. Even Ozone doesn't have an incredible teamfight team or an incredible poke team right now, so really, they're kind of at mercy of Fnatic's roam for the rest of this game. They really have to pull off something miraculous or catch a few opportune teamfights where Peke just can't get going, because he's just going to charge up and go extreme.
Dade at this point actually working his way up towards that Zhonya's Hourglass first of all. I mean, right now it's not a time that Ozone will be wanting to fight in this game. If we look down the two AD carries, both do have that Trinity Force finish, but Pusher has just played so well in his Corki game so far, positioning-wise, and the fact that you've got that Zed now with the Blade of the Ruined King in means that Ozone, if they were to fight, are probably going to lose out.
And I think so much of that just goes back to Dade. After he was able to help his team pick up 2 early kills, he really gave them right back to Pushu. And, I mean, you have to credit Yellowstar and Pushu for hiding in the right spots and making sure Dade felt safe about where he was. But if that wouldn't have happened, this entire claw back from deficit and eventual lead taken by Fnatic just wouldn't have been possible. Pushu, once you start giving up 2 kills in that lane, unless you do something miraculous to come back, it's just going to keep going against you. And considering Peke was already in the mid lane, and Soaz was effectively just in a farm off with Looper, that would have just started the train for Ozone, and it just hasn't been able to take place.
Well, it's like Fnatic have got their next objective in sight. The final outer turret that's left standing here is Yellowstar going to get caught out inside of the jungle. Mata going to be draining health away as the Strangled Thorns go down. Pushu, he's in a lot of trouble now as he gets caught between them. Ultimate is going to get put down, but he's managed to survive. Looper picks up Yellowstar. He will finally bounce in the middle of them. Peke comes in to try and clean things up. Looper going very low. Him and Cyanide battling as there's a triple kill for Peke, and I've got a feeling it's not over. Looper going to have his passive pot, but it's not going to be enough to keep him alive. This is going to be the first ace of the game for Fnatic.
And watch how they gave that to Peke as well. That's trouble right now. A 4-kill Kassadin based on a 17-minute mid-game teamfight. Peke doesn't even have ability power before this fight. One of the big things about this, Pushu got the jump, even though it seemed like Ozone felt like they had one. Dade was not involved in this fight. He actually put out his claw in the wrong direction to escape this fight while Looper was coming in from the back. The coordination in this fight was not there from Ozone. And then Fnatic did their trademark flank. Soaz and Peke could both approach the fight late and get on priority targets at the right moment. So they were able to bypass the tank line of Ozone, which was Looper, and assassinate, which is what they have in their comp.
And the funny thing is, Pushu, who should be very killable for Ozone right now, Lissandra ulti onto him. That's like the perfect time to kill the AD carry. You saw it didn't even break half of his health. Now, That's because of the way he started off in this one, going up to that Zhonya's first.
Peke
Dragon is
teleported in.
available.
They're gonna
be
chase this.
taken. They're going to fight this one. Peke actually has to flash away back from that one. So he did. He was
Soaz is
ripped
behind him.
away from that one. Soaz does come from the backside. They're closing on to Mata. They've been absolutely exploded. Lupa will manage to jump away, but can you escape Peke? Not right now. Pushu's moving in as well. There's a finisher. Peke dominating.
This is exactly the type of game Fnatic loves to be a part of. Soaz could get behind the lines of Ozone and approach the fight properly. It doesn't matter for Fnatic if they do not have tanks, if they're allowed to initiate in the open field. Ozone exposed himself in that Dragon. Even though Fnatic did not get the Dragon, they got far more in that next fight, picking up 4 more kills.
15-7 in kills. The Gold League starting to run away from Ozone. 4-0 in turrets as well, and Fnatic at this point, absolute plain sailing for them. 6 kills on Kassadin, 6 on Corki. That's a very scary team. I mean, Soaz, he's not picked up kills right now, but he's got 7 assists. He's approaching that 200 CS lead as well, and Fnatic are going to have to mess up at this point.
Absolutely, and so Fnatic is a team that is prone to messing up occasionally when they're in these situations, but it's only because they have such a unique and crazy, inherently risky style of play. You can't always get the right flank in a team fight. If a team baits you in at the right moment, it doesn't work out for you, but just the size of their lead right now might make that an impossibility. Even if they got involved in a 4v5, I feel like they could draw it out for long enough that either Soaz or Peke would have the time to approach and actually just clean up for kills. No one on Ozone has been able to get appropriate defensive itemization to actually stop the double assassin threat that Fnatic has coming out. Think about how hard it is to stop both a physical and magical damage assassin coming at you. That was not a good ult either.
No.
No.
Doesn't matter though. Let's push on because Fnatic here moving up that mid lane. Dandy taking a lot of damage there. Has to repel. He's going to come back down with just half of his health remaining. Meanwhile, Peke, well, he's doing what Peke loves to do and he's pushing this top lane out. It's going to have to be dealt with, which leaves that middle lane then open.
Yeah, and we talked about what an issue it was going to be, knowing that 14 minutes in the game a little while ago, the Peke hadn't been shut down yet. Fnatic was in the lead. Because stuff like this happens.
Imp jumps on. There's a Strangle Thorns. Yellow Soul will pick up the kill with it. Soaz comes in from the side. There's Peke jumping in as well. Low HP on Dade, but he will manage to stay alive for now. Ozone trying to push this mid lane back, but the top lane has been decimated. The minions not getting past the steps of the base, and this is going to be another inner turret.
As mobile as Ozone's composition is, they're still sitting ducks against Fnatic right now. Whenever Fnatic wants to go in, he's done. He's back down.
He's coming down, but he's not going home. Peke now godlike on Kassadin. That inner turret did go down. The inhibitor turret's going to fall with this one. Dade using the ultimate on himself. Doesn't have the Zhonyas yet. Soaz picks up his first kill of the game. Fnatic making this look easy.
This is very quickly evolving into a stomp for Fnatic. Ozone has nothing to stop the assassination power and the gold lead of Fnatic right now.
As he inhib, easily taken down here by Fnatic as he going towards him. He's just about alive, gets himself back onto the fountain. Lupa now bouncing around in the team. He will go down, and that is another kill, a quick kill in succession there for Soaz. They walk away, still managing to pick up kills. Very low on health, but they've done the job and more.
Yeah, and they have thousands of gold to spend, which is why Ozone was trying to get in for maybe a fight during the chase. They're going to buy a whole bunch more items now and think they have complete freedom with where they want to go right now. Knowing that Peke, effectively everyone on Fnatic that needed farm got farm. It makes it too difficult right now for Ozone to actually stop them.
Second Rod of Ages there picked up by Peke.
He's done this before.
We saw it actually was his Spanish friend from Giants, Extermin, that really brought that one to life in the spring split, but, you know, why not?
It shows you how confident Peke is right now, because I've actually talked to him about double Rod of Ages builds. He's done it on Zyra before, as Matt is actually going to go in for a fight. So I think we have to delay this story, Joe.
Oh, Soaz and Yellow start. Oh, they're going to spot Mata, who will flash in, gets the fear down on towards Soaz, but honestly, he's not even that scared. He goes into it, will flash himself away from that one, and there is Pushu to back things up. Yellow Star chasing in. There was a teleport. Finally, they deal with Soaz, but Dade is going to go down. Looper, the next focus. He's decently tanky, but against Peke and Cyanide, he's probably not going to escape this one. He'll flash away, which means he has to walk all the way back. Meanwhile, Imp and Dandy are actually going to be recalling while Fnatic push up towards a second inhib turret.
Yeah, and even though they got Soaz, still a 4v3 for Fnatic, and it's a 4v0 right now because everyone in Ozone had to go back and shop. Another inhibitor turret is defenseless right now. Fnatic will back out after that one, after what is a victory, and that was another example, Joe, of Fnatic getting kind of caught out of position, but because of their immense lead and the mobility they have built into their team, Peke with the teleport was able to come in from behind the fight, chase some people down from Ozone, and make it another victory despite the poor start.
So, will we be seeing more items coming down even after that one? We saw Soaz now added in the Black Cleaver to that Blade of the Ruined King from earlier on. Second Rod of Ages we already came and talked about. And that last Whisper now added in for Pushu with his Triforce.
Well, we can finish the story about Peke's double Rod of Ages, because I've actually talked to him about this, and it shows how confident he is in the game right now. He knows it's not the best build on Kassadin, but he builds it for fun when he knows he's running away with the game, because he just likes the look of having two of them in his inventory. He would probably go for 3 if the game continues like this and it goes long enough, because that's the mindset he's in right now.
Well, he's got the Blasting Wand, so
it's partway there.
It may go that direction, or he may change out as Looper here. Gonna go bouncing around the team of Fnatic, but the rest of Ozone nowhere near him. They decide they're too scared to get involved. Looper gonna have that passive pop, but Fnatic just bypass him and go for the next man. Dandy repels up in the air. Peke actually gonna be focused here, but he will be able to wrist walk himself back out of danger. Now they turn on towards him. Cyanide passive pop. Dade, he's had to walk away as Imp will go down in the end, and they dive for Dade as well. That's gonna be 4 kills for Fnatic, and surely the game with that Quadra from Soaz.
Peke sat on 17 health. There's a render from Ozone, and that was another dominating performance by Fnatic against Ozone.
Absolutely incredible stuff, and well, Fnatic, we saw them lose their first game in the World Championship against Vulcan. We wondered what was going to become of Fnatic in this group stage, and well, they've answered our questions with incredible performances time after time, and this one in particular was so impressive.
Yeah, #1 seed from the European region, #1 seed in this group now, dominating fashion here. Only 25 minutes to take down Samsung Galaxy Ozone right now. Without a third ban, mind you, they got all the champions they want. I feel like they mind gamed Ozone very well in the pick and ban phase as well, locking down Kassadin and Zed, and really just boggling Ozone with the double assassin. They were not able to effectively deal with that roam, or just their ability to approach team fights from every angle. That was Fnatic playing their game.
And I had to stop myself from saying that Ozone had no chance in this game, because they did. They got the first 2 kills of the game.
They seemed to have it, and when that game started, that was exactly the start Ozone wanted, because that's the type of start Ozone had against Gambit when they looked so dominant.
And you see there Fnatic on stage, the fans quickly becoming even more Fnatic fans, I think we can safely say from this one. Obviously the Season 1 champions weren't at Season 2 finals, they missed out on that one, but they're here again, and after that ropey start to things, they're looking very scary.
Yeah, and I mean, they have been the top team in Europe all season. Spring Split champions, Summer Split champions, and aside from that one slip up, man, they're looking good. Like, being able to come back from that 2-0 start so resoundingly is very impressive. I mean, the analyst desk will obviously talk about the way it happened, the potential mistakes that Ozone made coming into it, but just, you know, it does take experience and cool, which is something Fnatic has more of than anyone else. Ozone, for a lot of them, this is their first time leaving the country to come here. But Fnatic, Peke and Cyanide in particular, were in the Season 1 championship. Like, they're not phased once they get down a little bit. And I can't say the same for Ozone.
No, they play on a big stage. Maybe better than anyone else. We'll find out as we move forward. But we're going to head over to Riv and the analysts for their thoughts on Fnatic's incredible victory.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. And it really was at that. If you consider everything that went into this game, a ban down as well. They were able to come out of picks and bans with what they wanted completely in hand, and then having the first 2 kills against them in the beginning of the game. Double, why don't you just take us off? Start us off.
Oh, there's just so much to talk about in this game. Okay, so first, if you can't play Corki and you're not going to play a counter to Corki because Ezreal doesn't deal well at all, then you need to ban it. Like, they banned Ahri, Shen, Leona. You don't need to ban Leona or Shen. They even showed that they're willing to run Singed into Shen in the first 2 games that they played, so why would they ban it against Fnatic? Anyways, picks and bans aside, I just saw like multiple mistakes. Imp and Dade especially just kept getting picked off unnecessarily. They didn't need to play aggressively. All they have to do is snowball their Fiddlesticks Lissandra combo against double assassins, and eventually in the mid game when they get Zhonya's, it's just so impossible for double assassin to deal with that combo. I just don't know why they would try to push their advantage so much.
But that said, I think you have to give a lot of credit to Fnatic, though, for setting up those picks and playing that way after they did get behind early. Because they saw the comp coming out of Ozone. If we're talking about Lissandra and Fiddlesticks here, those targeted disables, that silence, if you come in with both Zed and Kassadin at the same time, could have been absolutely devastating in the late game. And so they said, hey, we're behind. We know we have to close this out quickly if we're going to get an advantage. So they set up those famous Fnatic brush picks, and they made it work. They turned it around, and they did a very good job at it.
Exactly, and that's the type of play style I think is actually superior in League of Legends compared to Ozone, who are very, very strong, and they're very, very smart, but they're reserved. They're a pretty reserved team who play by the book, whereas teams like Fnatic and OMG, as long as they don't make the wrong calls, make aggressive calls. They picked off the support because he went to ward over a wall and went for a max range grasping roots.
That's already, they had already lost a bit of the control of the game though. While they play really reserved, they play the game really well if they don't make any mistakes. They got ahead 2-0, but then Dade overextended twice in top lane. He actually got unlucky because he skilled his Q twice in the earlier skirmish, in which he actually got the 2-0. And he had no escape, overextended, got rooted out of a brush, and then got killed again. And that actually allowed, because you have to remember, yes, he got caught warding in the middle of the game, but that was top lane roaming to mid to kill the mid laners there, and they actually lane swapped. That would have never happened if there had been more pressure out of the 2-0 advantage they had. So it goes a little bit both ways, but I do like the way Fnatic plays when behind. It really shows how much mental agility they have, how comfortable they are. Even look at the mid game. Soaz had a ward on Fiddlesticks at the side, and he just said, yeah, normally a player would back off, but Soaz, nah. He's like, okay, I'm going to bait the surprise party Fiddlesticks, and then I'm just going to jump out, and I will show you that I knew you were there and that I baited you, and it just they got into the heads of the enemy.
And Mani, I want to pose a question. Knowing Ozone so well from being in Korea, is it like them to kind of falter into positions like this? We kind of saw a few of the mind games try to come out with the Ezreal pick, but then last picking that top lane. Where are they falling into this?
I think they had a good composition. They just ended up getting that early edge and then playing out the early game poorly compared to Fnatic, who set up some beautiful picks. But if you look at it, they knew Zed was going to be first picked. It was obvious with the bans that they had, and their idea was to counter pick with Lissandra, and they were trying. I think it was a smart idea against how Fnatic plays to say, we can deal with your assassins. Like they were great picks. Like they had a great team composition, but they did get so far behind that it ended up not mattering. And Fnatic used the brush control to the utmost, not only in that top lane against Dade, but also to pick off Imp and Mata in the by blue buff as well. So you really got to hand it to Fnatic. They played beautifully. So
yeah, Fiddlesticks and Lissandra work really well against these mobile assassins, but it actually gets a little worse when there's two of them because it's really hard. Soaz as well as Pekka are really good at dancing at the edge of a fight, especially Pekka. Yes, he can get caught by fear and he can get caught by real Lissandra ulti, but he will just never get in range for that. And Fnatic did that so beautifully. They just set it up perfect traps for Ozone. Like remember the fight at Dragon. They give Ozone Dragon, they tease a little bit, let them leave, and Ozone thinks they're safe, and then suddenly behind them is Soaz waiting in a brush, and they just get blown up.
Yeah, and that's actually another thing that I like from Fnatic is when I think about the team, it's Peke obviously is someone a lot of people look at, but also Soaz has so much room to make plays. And we saw multiple of them in this game. And as soon as they said, okay, well, Peke, you're on Kassadin, but Soaz, you've got Zed, another individual playmaker, they can both go by themselves and be their incredible players there. Remember, Soaz won the 1v1 competition for top laners in All-Star game. He's legitimately one of the best top laners in the world, and when he's not playing Yorick, he gets the freedom to go make plays and make a bunch of stuff happen, which happened here.
And still, I think the bot lane was actually MVP this game.
Oh yeah, like actually I was about to say Pushu made me eat my words. He was pretty substantial he had pretty substantial game impact this game. He had started the game off 4-0 on Corki, partially due to Dade's mistakes.
4-1.
Or 4-1. But also he just played a very solid game, and so did Zyra had amazing grasping roots the entire game. They had a really solid game all around. Everyone played well.
Their synergy they got killed early in a skirmish, and they said, well, that's too bad. It happens. Wait in the bush, get a kill Dade again. Immediately realized that wasn't enough for Fnatic to get back in the game. Only top lane winning wasn't enough. They had to stop Peke from being shut down, so they rotated them mid, got another pick off, put Peke in top lane. Peke uses teleport to get that farm, and he snowballed into the game.
And we've seen the ban on Kassadin. This is first game being picked, which makes him the 48th champion that we've seen now within Worlds. What is it like for a team to go against Fnatic when now there are multiple targets on Pushu, on Soaz now that's played Zed, which we kind of saw on Kassadin? How do you defend against that or even go into champion select?
Yeah, you don't get to. And this is something we saw at the very beginning of the tournament was Kassadin bans. And then finally someone says, you know what, we don't really need to ban Kassadin, do we? Yes, you do. You 2v1'd against Peke, right? You shut him down. He had very little minion kills. He couldn't roam into that top lane and turn around the kill. Then he burned his first teleport to soak up experience in the top lane when Dade was pushing. So he's sitting there doing nothing but waiting to stack up with Aroa, and then shows up to a team fight, gets a belated quadra kill. Yeah, gets another one afterwards.
But that's a team fight somebody else set up, though.
Sure.
Kassadin only scales into the game if your team allows you to scale into it. You can actually, Ozone did a good job of shutting him down. The other lanes just go behind.
And I just kind of want to draw a comparison between Xpeke and Faker, who are both very high playmakers. Well, Xpeke makes his plays generally with TP, but they're both have insanely big champion pools that you can't really ban out, and they're both just incredibly solid players. Obviously, they're not going to ever face each other until semifinals if they both make it potentially, but they're just so good and they're so versatile.
And looking at their composition, we talked a little bit about how high risk, high reward it was. If you're not able to get early or ahead early with a pick composition like that, you kind of get torn apart. Prepo.
Well, they didn't get, but yeah, if you don't get if you don't bounce back from the initial setback, then it's gonna get really hard. Yeah, you have to play for picks, and that's what they did. Fnatic's really good at that, though. It's so scary to play against them. I really liked some of the movements they had over the map. I don't know if I was behind, I would have actually seen those paths they had to take, because they realized even if they were getting control over one lane again, they realized that was enough. They rotated into mid lane, snowballed it there, keep getting a farm on Peke, and then they had really good fights.
So the big fight at 18 minutes, we don't have a replay of it, but we were kind of watching that off. What were the thoughts there? They obviously invaded the jungle, and then we saw Ozone quickly going for the dragon. That kind of even set them farther back. Monty, if you want to talk to that a little bit.
I'm trying to remember. This was the top lane jungle fight. Hard to do without a replay. I mean, they did file in a little bit one by one right there, and I'm trying to remember, but I think Fnatic used the lizard brush really well to deny a lot of damage.
It's kind of that I think I can mentality. You can help your teammate out. I can help you. No, we're both going to die. Maybe a third one can help us out, and it looks like.
In the jungle, it's really nice to fight with double mobile assassins, though, because unless you have full vision with wards, they can constantly jump over walls, come in and out, and you see that Peke draws that. Peke is really good. That's his signature playstyle at drawing aggro, going out of the fight and getting back in. He will almost always burn his flash going out. And Pekka is really good at using target CC. Like Lissandra ultis, usually they leave you in place. You can see Pekka every game just pour it out and still get Lissandra ulti where he ends up, because he reads the game so well. He knows exactly when to go in and out.
And I think a lot of these fights, when Ozone gets blindsided, is in part due to Imada underperforming a little bit, because I generally see him in, champions. He has amazing map control. He has amazing vision around. His team never gets flanked. And then I see multiple times Zed will flank his team, Kassadin will flank his team this game, and especially in these crucial turning point fights, that you can't afford to get flanked or else you're going to lose.